I wanted to comment on the Ben Carson Wes Huff debate. Ben Carson is not a formally educated person. He doesn't have a master's degree, doesn't have a PhD, blah 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 blah, and that's cool. That's cool. I think he shows a lot of character and enthusiasm in being a self-starter, a self-taught person. And there's some of our greatest Americans are self-starters, self-taught. Frederick Douglass, moving forward. Some of our greatest minds are self-educated. And I thought I found Wes Huff's position as an academic trying to help, quote unquote, I felt it to be disingenuous because he does have formal education. And what he is educated in is highly questionable in and of itself. Religion. To boil it down, religion is somebody said, God said. As much as you can trust that. So, red flag up number one. And I felt the debate, when you are an educated person, you can tell how especially when you're talking PhDs and all that kind of stuff. And when I was a PhD candidate, rarely did I keep saying that. Rarely was that one of my identifications of myself. So when I hear that, I'm like, okay, well, you open yourself up to a degree of scrutiny when you put that cape on. Okay, you can just say, this is what I study. I work at this university, and leave it alone. As a rule, I don't think in any video or any debate I've had with anybody have I stated my credentials. I mean, my credentials are what they are. And I know that negativity sells, especially on the internet. I don't know why it sells, if not more, it sells faster. And I think it came across to me as Wes Huff was trying to seem altruistic, as though he was trying to be helpful. But he knew that conversation did not have to go negatively. And I think he purposefully did that. And if his goal was to be on Joe Rogan and trend and have a huge page, he succeeded. I would love to have a page as successful as I'm sure his page is now. But it doesn't matter how rich somebody is. Our job as academics is not to take someone's enthusiasm from them. We're helpers to the community. We're sources of information. Whereas he could have informed Ben Carson about the quality of his sources without discrediting him. And though he was saying respectfully, he saw the response he was getting. And I think he purposefully guided that situation the way he did. And he began, now there were some things that Ben Carson was just flat out uneducated in. And to educate him, no problem. But then he began to use, he meaning Wes Huff, he's using these tricks of debate that are generally expected at higher levels of academia because he knew he was talking to somebody who was not prepared to combat them. That's where I was bothered by the situation. Because if Ben Carson knew these debating tricks, he could have turned the same tricks and posed those same tricks to anything Wes Huff is studying. And Wes Huff would have absolutely no credibility because when you're talking about the history of Christianity, the bottom line is there is no secular evidence outside of religious history that anything in the Bible happened or any of the people existed. So just because I say something happened in Chicago, well, yeah, Chicago exists, but if I can't show any proof of any person in the story existing in Chicago, but that doesn't mean that what I said happened. I just said a place. I named some rivers. I said, well, yeah, those rivers are there. But that doesn't mean that you have any proof whatsoever that is outside of religious doctrine that says anything that Wes Huff is studying ever happened. And he was purposefully trying to win a debate instead of educating. Now, if that's what they were supposed to be doing, fine. But what he was saying was, that's not what I was trying to do. I was really concerned and I was trying to reach out, and I don't think he was doing it in that spirit. And I say that because as the conversation went on, it seemed as though that's what he was doing when it started off. Now, I don't know if something happened where Ben Carson pissed him off and he chose to make it an embarrassment, because he could have easily pulled back and encouraged a lot of the things Ben Carson is saying that is dealing with ancient writings, interpretations of things, because there are some things that Ben Carson is saying are just facts that are hard for people to deal with. The fact that there are carvings of flying machines from just about every continent in antiquity, that's hard to deal with. The fact that the measurements of pyramids on different continents line up with Orion's belt and base and height, that's hard to deal with. And he could have balanced a lot of the strengths of Ben Carson and even posed a possible partnership where he could vet what sources were primary, what sources were secondary, what sources were credible, what sources were not credible, if indeed he was trying to assist him, which educated people know how to assist people and not to assist people. They know how to embarrass people, and they know how to gently offer constructive criticism. You say, well, how do you know that? Just because academics or scholars, what separates us from smart people is that we function with something called peer review, where we do our research and we present it to our peers. And that is a regular part of what we do from your master's degree up. So we are practiced in gingerly encouragingly and cautiously offering criticism and combining any criticism with support. So he's quick to keep repeating, I'm a doctoral candidate. So you're in the midst of that. And maybe this is just a mistake of somebody who is a doctoral candidate as opposed to somebody who has a doctorate. And unfortunately, what he will find, or should have found by now, I don't know where he is in his program, is the more stuff that you learn or the closer you get to that doctorate or the deeper you get into that doctorate, the less you know. And to be publicly embarrassed or to publicly embarrass somebody is not a good look on our field as scholars. We don't become experts in whatever our chosen area is to make other people look stupid. I'm not looking for people to talk about the Civil War so I can get on their webpage and just poke holes in everything that they're saying, especially if I know they haven't had the training that I have. So, as popular as that debate has gotten, I think it was. Now, I do not think Ben Carson gave a good showing of himself. I think he is not a debater and thereby shouldn't be debating. Not because he didn't know that a lot of the history or the credibility of his sources, but that he seemed rather petulant and frustrated when he didn't know how to guide the conversation. It was kind of like, if you're not amazed by whatever he's saying, he doesn't know how to function in that circle. And I don't know how much the subsequent legal action is true, but I just thought as a scholar, someone in the industry needs to speak up. That's not how we're supposed to function. And if he wants to be a scholar, I'm not going to say don't do that. I'm going to say be ready for somebody to do it to you. If I had the chance to debate him, let's say religious history versus academic history, I would encourage whatever he does know and whatever he believes or whatever his theories are, but I would align it with enough information for him to see this isn't as cut and dry as you think it is. And the way that he presents his understanding of religious writings is that some of those things are facts, especially with the Abrahamic religions, your Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I just felt that on the internet, great. But intellectually, you definitely don't punch down. And I'm not saying that Ben Carson isn't smart. I think he's brilliant. I think he doesn't know how to debate. And I think he got caught with some tricks as opposed to information. And what Wes Huff did was a masterful job of outclassing someone in debate and not in information. Because, last thing, A debate is excellent for two reasons. If I lose, I learned something. If I win, I taught something. But the best way to win, the best outcome for a debate, is that I learn something and I teach something. And the other person learns something and they teach something. So, as scholars or academics, we should be going into debates wanting to learn or even looking to be wrong. When I'm presenting on Lincoln or the Civil War or slavery, I want that. I'm not looking for all of the things that I got right. I'm looking for even if it's a debate that I win, that one thing that someone says that is hard for me to refute. Okay, fine. That's something I need to put into my work and find out how this works in with what I'm doing. So that was just something that, even though it is kind of popular news, this being an academic channel, I wanted to comment on that.